Hello guys, what else is new? That's the name of the show. We're a little bit off kilter, but that's okay. What else is new? I got a bunch of open tabs on the go, and I am going to try and run through those in fairly quick, decent fashion. Just want to check my levels over here, make sure they're doing okay. I suppose it could be a bit better. Where's my gain? I turn my gain up a little bit. Just get more background noise. Quick check over on, oh, there's me doing a workout earlier. And okay, so that was me earlier. That was me earlier today doing a little exercise video number 2. All should be good. Let's get right to the show. February 11th, 11:05 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Minus 17 degrees C. A little coffee. So shout out to Angela and her Greenspiration news and events came out yesterday. You guys probably signed up on that. There's a bunch of good stuff in there, including, I must say, I'm pretty stoked to see, where is it? Doug Ford, miscellaneous. There we go. Miscellaneous. What else is new? Video podcaster Kelly Green goes through a Greenspiration newsletter with his viewers. So if you saw the episode, I went through an entire newsletter of Angela's and then did the links and did the commentary and whatnot. And she goes on to say, I especially appreciated his True Confessions of a Gen Xtivist, 10-part true crime stories of his activist exploits from 1990 to today. So I invite folks to check that out on my channel, Personal Kelly 11. Go to podcast, Confessions of a Gen Xtivist, True Crime Stories. Hello and welcome to and there's episode 10. So it's playing in reverse order for whatever reason. I guess I should change that. Anyways, something to check out, but that's not why we are here today. We are here, I think the general theme, if I go and check my notes, the general theme we're looking at is a little pesky, fascisty. We got Elon Musk, fascism, internet getting shitty. Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about rats, we're going to talk about ticks, we're going to talk about feds, air pollution, and climate change. Lots of fun stuff to look at. So I put this together 3, 4, maybe 5 days ago, and the old memory isn't what it used to be. So let's hope that I've saved it on something relevant.
Now, Laura Musk and his team, the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, are moving very fast. Bring us up to date. Since Monday, how many more agencies and government systems has he gained access to?
So to date, Musk and his team have accessed at least 11 agencies, and the count is growing every day. So that includes USAID, Treasury, Education Department, FAA, FBI, and what does that mean? That means that with access to these agencies, he has access to the government's biggest payment systems, to personnel information, to the personal information of many Americans, HR systems, and much more. The New York Times also recently reported that DOGE has access to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which has contracts totaling in $1 trillion. And now we asked the White House about all this access, and the White House claims that Musk and DOGE have, quote, the appropriate security clearances, and that DOGE employees are employees of relevant agencies.
So that's an ongoing story. This is already 5 days old. How many other government institutions have been raided by the DOGE, by the Musk, gathering up all that data, feeding it into his own AIs? Oh my. Okay, personal discretion over the Treasury payment system means the end of democracy. Again, a week ago, February 4th. So I don't need to go into this. You all know how bad these situations are. I should have picked something to read out of that instead of just staring at the screen. Regardless, old news. Read this, then please log off and go outside. I feel like I've commented on this. Did I already make a video and then forget that I made that video, and now I'm just like reinventing the wheel here? I don't know. You can't post your way out of fascism. Well, we're going to try. There's a really important point in here that I wanted to get to. Here it is. You can discourse and quote dunk and fact check until you're blue in the face, but at a certain point, you have to stop and decide what truth you believe in. The internet has conditioned us to constantly seek new information, as if becoming a sponge of bad news will eventually yield the final piece of the puzzle. I'm totally guilty of that. Always on the lookout for more information to fill that piece of the puzzle. But there's also such a thing as having enough information. As the internet continues to inshitify, maybe what we really need is to start trusting each other and our own collective sense of what is true and good. Yeah, fair enough. Basically, we need to disengage a lot from the online world and get into more organizing in the real world. I wonder if they're going to talk about that on how to rebuild the left, UNFTR Media. I feel like I've done this.
The distractor-in-chief is unleashing a war of attrition on reason and good taste, the likes of which we've never experienced. For anyone who claims that Trump's faculties are diminished, think again. He is at the height of his powers right now, and even though it's only been a couple of weeks...
Yeah, that's a point that I wanted to agree with. That he's saying it's very easy for us to be like, that guy's so dumb and stupid Trump, and you'll see all these guys like Midas Touch and different videos, and they try and make fun of him. It's like, oh, look, he's losing his mind. He's really lost it now. I mean, say what you want, but the guy is not an idiot, okay? They've just cooed the United States of America. So pay attention.
He is wearing us down, and that's the plan. So here's our plan. It's impossible to look away, so don't. Take it all in and let it fuel your disgust and give you a sense of purpose. And that purpose is first, the midterms, and then 2028.
Okay, so he's feeling fairly hopeful for electoral politics going forward. Man, talk about the zone being flooded. The zone, we're flooded. I don't know what the answers are. I don't know if you know what the answers are. I don't even know if anyone knows exactly what entirely is all going on. Okay, next tab. Billy Bragg says, imagine you were the richest man in the world. You could have anything you wanted, go anywhere you wished, do whatever took your fancy. How would you spend your weekend? Depriving the poorest people in the world of food and healthcare and boasting about it? Elon Musk tweets, we spent the weekend feeding USAID into the wood chipper. What a douche. Douche the Doge. This is shit. This is an article just talking about the enshittification of the internet and all things in the world that are going on. I want to get back to that, though. There's a lot of focus on the USAID as opposed to all of those other dozen, 20, 30, how many other government departments have been raided and shut down and destroyed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of focus on this one. Is it good? Is it bad? Yes, it's doing good, but we also know that it's been a front group, so it's also been doing bad. I remember one story way back. Mozambique was going through a drought and a famine. They needed food aid, but they refused the food aid from USAID because it was genetically engineered corn. So even though his people were starving, the president or leader of Mozambique at the time said, no thanks, we do not want your GMO corn, because he knew that his people are going to put that in the ground and try and grow even more crops from it besides just grinding it up and eating it themselves. So, developing story. USAID, the enshittification of everything. Oh, and here we got some more scum. Rats. Rat populations are surging as global warming carries on. Fun fact, we don't have that problem in Alberta. Here is the province of Alberta, roughly. So here we are. And allegedly, we are a rat-free province. There's no rats in this province, except in the legislature. But okay, where were we? Rats. Oh, ticks. Wow, this is a really, I wish I picked something out to talk about this specifically. U.S. bioweapons program behind Lyme disease? Question mark? I mean, it's really good that these things are starting to be discussed. For several years, talk of these types of things was relegated to, I guess, the right? I don't know, in the anti-science crowd. So if people would talk about these types of things, you're automatically given a tinfoil hat, put in the corner, canceled out, etc., etc. But it's a real thing. Even though they put the question mark behind it, you'll see if you watch it that it is, in fact, a real thing. So let's just take it from the top and see what happens.
Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of
I
Lyme
want all
disease
of our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it.
He wants all of his colleagues to hear it.
So yeah, it came up in the news, obviously, with RFK Jr. getting confirmed for his new role. They were asking about him about many of the things that he said and written about over the years. And one of the things that he's admitting to is that this Lyme disease was likely a bioengineered weapon that escaped from a U.S. program.
So let's break it down today. Is Lyme disease a genetically engineered bioweapon? My name is James Lee, and you're watching Beyond the Headlines on Breaking Points. The first known cases of Lyme disease were reported in Lyme, Connecticut in the 1970s. But since then, the disease has exploded into a public health crisis, with the CDC estimating nearly 500,000 cases each year in the United States alone. For decades, the official story has been that Lyme disease was naturally occurring, originating from tick bites in the forests of New England. But emerging evidence suggests something far more sinister: government experiments, biological warfare, and a potential cover-up. So to help us unpack the real story, I'm joined today by Chris Newby, an award-winning medical science writer and author of Bitten: The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today on Breaking Points.
Thanks for the invite, James. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. I just have to start with the irony of the whole situation. I'm sure you maybe caught some of this during the RFK Jr. hearing. Senator Michael Bennet, he was grilling RFK saying, "Did you say that Lyme disease came from a lab, blah, blah, blah?" And I've been looking at this, as you know, kind of in the background. I'm thinking to myself, well, I think it maybe did come from a lab. So I think the government, in order to convince us that a conspiracy doesn't exist, may have just drawn more attention to the possibility that one might exist. So
where do we sit on that? It's starting to get some coverage. It'll be interesting to see if somebody outside of this guest person, I don't remember seeing him on Breaking Points. I don't watch Breaking Points a whole ton. But it'll be interesting to see if this gains any more traction. It's definitely worth looking into, and we need to keep our eyes open about these things, because not only the Lyme disease, but also a lot of other things, something quite recent in our collective history, may have also escaped from a lab or have been engineered accidentally on purpose. We got to watch these things. We can't ignore them. Talking about them isn't anti-science. Okay, we can't just dismiss folks like RFK Jr. As crazy as he might be with all the crazy crap that he does and says, there's some truth out there. As they say, two things can be true at the same time. With regards to dark stuff like this, many more things could probably be true at the same time. This is also interesting. Fed alert, Ian Carroll. I hadn't heard of this Ian Carroll character. Sabby Sabs does a good little teardown, and she does a react video of someone else doing a teardown of this Ian Carroll dude. In a nutshell, comes out of nowhere, becomes super popular. Now he's an influencer. Apparently he was pro-Palestine. Then he flipped after, what's his face there in the White House, took an absolutely horrific stand on Gaza. these last few days, and he's now flip-flopped. So this is worth, again, taking a dive into because it's a subject that is ongoing, where we've got people who show up into scenes, whether it be online scenes or in real life activist scenes, and then suddenly they come to a point of prominence, okay? And they're able to shift the discourse and move the group and keep an eye on everybody, what's going on. It's real. Be careful out there. There's spooks everywhere. Let's just take it from the top and see what Sabby Sab says.
Every now and then, there is a content creator that appears out of nowhere and just automatically rises and surges very quickly, even though they are talking about controversial issues that have caused other people to either be even more suppressed or suspended or targeted. And I've always said before, whenever you see someone come out of nowhere and they have no name recognition, they're not a public figure, and they blow up very quickly, particularly on X, formerly known as Twitter.
So she's making some good points, some good things to watch, and it's especially easy to see from folks like herself. She does great. Like, she's got 169,000 subs. Like, that's not inconsequential. But given the prolific nature of her work and the quality guests that she brings on, she should be 3, 4, 5. She'd be up in the millions of subscribers, really. Especially when you see that twats like this have 1 million people watching his channel just to kind of come out of nowhere.
We need to dive into these creators who come out of nowhere and all of a sudden are amplified quickly to get to 1 million followers. You always have to be suspicious about that. So Nico House broke this down for Hotspot. It seems like Trump's announcement to take over Gaza exposed the grift of journalist communicator Ian Carroll. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why did the algorithm boost a former pro-Palestine supporter to 1 million followers in a year? Is he a Fed? You be the judge. Let's go ahead and dive in. I think this is probably one of Nico's best. Check this out.
Trump's recent announcement to finish the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip might have exposed something a little bit more sinister going on behind the scenes, like this weirdo Ian Carroll. Now, we all know Trump got those loyalists who, even if they're on the right side of an issue at a certain point, will flip the moment Trump takes the opposite side, like what Andrew Tate did here.
Okay, I didn't even know that other douchebag was pro-Palestine at some point. There's certain people out there that I just block. I just keep them out of my headspace and out of my computer and out of my feeds. I'd never heard of this Ian Carroll fellow, but these people have, and they're calling him out. Interestingly enough, I had a story I was going to share about that, but it's quickly gone from my brain. So we're just going to move on to Professor Elliot Jacobson posting yesterday. Ooh, this is pretty scary. Unexpected methane surge. Clean air policies could be backfiring. Do I have the article? Yes, there it is. At SciTech Daily. How has this happened? Put simply, sulfur provides the conditions for one set of bacteria to outmuscle another set of microbes that produce methane when they compete over the limited food available in wetlands. Under the conditions of acid rain, sulfur pollution during the past century, this was enough to reduce wetland methane. Now that clean air policies have been introduced, the unfortunate consequences of reducing sulfur deposition, which does have important and welcome effects for the world's ecosystems, is that we will need to work much harder than we thought to stay within the safe climate limits set out in the Paris Agreement. So I don't totally understand what's happening here, but it appears that less sulfur pollution means more methane production coming out of the frozen permafrost, the peatlands and whatnot, feeding the feedback loop, climate change, global warming, etc., etc. Here we go. January 25, breaks heat record as climate change overwhelms La Nina cooling. January 2025 was the warmest January on record, surpassing the previous record set by January 2024. Global average surface air temperature for the month reached 1.75 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. So that's not good. That's not good. And usually when we get the La Nina, that has a cooling effect following the El Nino, but we haven't seen that cooling effect. In fact, the temperatures just keep going up and up and up. I wonder what's going to happen. Holy cow. Well, that's what's going to happen. I ripped through all that stuff. I got nothing more to say. We got climate change on the rise. We got bioweapons potentially being developed by the U.S. government decades ago that's now wreaking havoc in the world. That's just what we know of. That's a really good piece, by the way. I'm going to have to revisit that and try and pull some stuff out. James Lee, History of Lyme Disease with Chris Newby. If we follow the crumbs, what happens? There's her book, Bitten. No, I don't want to be on your mailing list right now. Award-winning medical science writer. Something to dig into. Something to dig into. Anyways, it's 11:30, February 11th. I ripped through that fairly fast. This is going to be a short video. I went with minimal lighting and setup this morning, but I did manage to put on a tie. Do you like my tie? I don't think I've ever actually worn this one. Okay, so thanks. Hit the bell and like and subscribe and tell your friends for whatever it's worth. If you're still here and you want to check out any of those things I touched on briefly, just, it's in the show description down there from my show notes. Follow all those links, go through this stuff at your leisure. Appreciate the views and the watches, and stay safe out there. What a world. What a world.